In past videos, I've ranked both Christian and Muslim faiths on a tier list based on their in-game CK3 viability. In this video, I continue this series by going over the pagan faiths. I'm going to include a few other religious types that aren't pagan, as making a separate video on some of these other groups would mean that I would have to upload like 4 videos that are less than 2 minutes long, which I'm obviously not going to do. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start with... Just an FYI, this list is going to be filled with religions that I will not know how to say. This is the first one that I'm not even going to try to say. So, in tenets, monasticism, pretty good. I like it a lot. Forcing your sons to become monks is super helpful. Sky burials. Rulers can give their ancestors a sky burial, granting piety and increasing vassal opinion. Okay. And you also have Eastern syncretism. Eastern faiths were considered astray instead of being evil, which sounds like it could be good. I kind of lean on this one being in the bad category, just based on the fact that you can't do holy wars when you have the CB in basically the entirety of the East, which is where this faith is, so I don't really like it that much. It's also pluralist, and you can't have concubines. I don't like either of those either. This is a pretty weak start. I'm gonna give this one low C. This one here is a sister faith to the first one, and I think it's kind of better. So, esotericism. Children with a learning education might gain wise man, and wise man is a virtue, so it works out pretty good. Human sacrifice, which I actually consider to be a pretty high tier tenet. You'll gain prisoners all the time playing this game. And being able to kill them for piety is never going to be a bad thing to have. This one too is also pluralist, and you can't have concubines, which I don't like, but I consider this one to be a lot better than the other one. It's still going to be in C, but I'm going to give it, I don't know, mid C instead of low C. With the unreformed Tibetan faiths being gone, we move all the way to West Africa and look at Baidaism. Adaptive. The faith is pluralist, so adaptive is probably super good for it, considering that whenever you do conquer wars or holy wars, you're actually going to gain hostile vassals. And in adaptive, infidel vassals are actually a lot less likely to join independents and factions, especially considering that in adaptive, infidel vassals are a lot less likely to join independence factions. So I think it kind of meshes well, with the downside being pluralist. Ancestor worship. This one is kind of boring. Nothing in here is super good. Prestige from newborns plus 100%. Prestige when getting married plus 100%. The best one really is maximum long reign opinion bonus plus 50%. I think it can get high as like 20, so you'd be getting to what, 30 instead? It'll help a little bit. And it has human sacrifice, which like I said, I like. I have to mention the sins and virtues though. The sins are kind of average, but the virtues, calm, humble, being a twin, and being a witch are the virtues, which is like the most random things I could possibly think of. You can also have concubines. I'm like 80% sure that every single unreformed faith or every single pagan faith is going to allow concubines. So I'm probably not going to mention concubines anymore, just based on the fact that every single one of these religions is going to have concubines as a tenet. I'm probably going to give it high C. Pluralist is super bad. I do not like that one at all. Seguism is in the same faith. I don't even know what to call it. Same faith branch, I guess. And they are a lot worse. Adaptive. Just like Baidaic, I don't mind it with a pluralist. Ancestor worship. I don't like that one. Sanctity of nature. Attrition taken in jungle minus 25%. Advantage in jungle plus 5%. If you don't know the terrain makeup in this area, you might think that's pretty good. But just looking at this, it looks like there's like less than 3% of all land that Seguism covers being jungles. This one here, I think is the first D tier. Just nothing super good to really do with this one. This faith here is the main reason why I decided that I wouldn't say every single name in this video. There's no way that I'd be able to pronounce that. It doesn't really matter anyways, considering that this one is going to be D tier. Communal identity. Horrible. Asceticism is just a meditation one. Makes temperate a virtue. Makes gluttonous, greedy, and eager reveler a sin. In sanctity of nature. And if you didn't know, in Tibet, there's no jungles, forests, or taigas. So it's a waste of time. Half of the sins are bad. Having greedy and ambitious being a sin is horrible. The virtues are decent. They're basically the Catholic one somehow. This one is a D tier if I've ever seen it. Looking at its fellow faith, ancestor worship, I don't like. Astrology, naval speed plus 25%. I'll show you on screen where they are on the map. They are not in a good area for this bonus. Astrology also allows them to predict their future. I don't remember what that is, but I don't remember it being too insane or super good. In ritual celebrations, hosting a feast earns piety, and vassals are more likely to attend feast. And for everyone that follows this faith, you get a vassal opinion plus 5% and a courtier opinion plus 5%. I like that one quite a bit. Out of all of these so far, I think this one gets an high C. I don't know how, but this is probably the best one so far. Dynapoloism, I'm guessing as I say this one here. Religious law. Rulers with high learning may condemn their sinful vassals. I take learning whenever I can, so this would help me out pretty good. Ancestor worship, whatever. Sanctity of nature, kind of bad in this area too. There's still no jungle in any of the areas that this faith is in, at least in 867. Every single one here has been pretty bad. None of these faiths have really had anything good going for them, so this one gets like middle C. You know what? I'm actually going to adjust the list. I'm going to adjust that one Tibetan faith that has human sacrifice up to B. I think it does deserve it. There's nothing super bad with it, and out of all the faiths so far, it is obviously the best one. Sadism is a faith that I want to make a separate video on, just based on its area and how it has only one existing province in 867. But looking at it, religious law, like I said I like, inner journey, players can meditate, sanctity of nature. I don't know why all these have sanctity of nature. It's super bad. I do not like that one. If this was a Christian or Muslim tier list, this one would be in low D. But since it's in the pagan one, and for some reason all these are super bad, it gets high C. Pretty boring. Reincarnation. Reincarnation is pretty bad. County conversion resistance plus 20%. You'll never need that if you're not losing land. Ancestor worship. Not really worth it as a tenet. There's so many better ones out there. And Eastern syncretism. Eastern syncretism kind of works for this one compared to the other ones. Just based on how small it is, it's probably better that your neighbors can't just immediately declare war on you and destroy you. So it probably helps it. I don't know. Mid-high C. I actually did a video on this one a very long time ago. I wouldn't watch that video because it's super old and it's pretty bad. But anyways, tenets, ancestor worship, ritual celebrations, I like that one. Eastern syncretism, I like that one for this one. There's only one province of it in the entire game, and it's surrounded by Eastern faiths. So this one probably sneaks on a low B. You should already know, this one is going to be pretty up there. Patron gods. Rulers can decide to pick a personal avatar to venerate, granting a bonus. I don't remember all the bonuses. They're pretty decent. Warmonger, the best tenet in the entire game if you're conquering. And I'm guessing the way you say this is bloat? I'm guessing. Executions earn piety instead of costing piety. Executions never cost prestige when sharing power. What a random thing to have. Able to hold grand sacrifices once a decade for same faith subject and popular opinion. Once a decade kind of sucks. It's still amazing, of course. This one is going to be our only S tier in the entire video. I've played in the region that Borea is in quite a bit. I like it pretty good. Esotericism. I've went over it earlier. I like it. Adoricism. Enables the seek aid of the spirits decision. Makes possessed a virtue. Possessed isn't the best trait. It gives you a moderate health penalty. The one seek aid of the spirits decision also can give you some other traits. I forgot them all. I think shrewd is one of them, and strong is one too. Both amazing traits. In ritual celebrations, I'd say this one is mid B. Tengrism is another pretty good one. Esotericism, ancestor worship. There's nothing bad with it. It's just that there's so many good tenets that it's kind of on the lower tier. And Warmonger, which immediately puts it above B. Another pretty bad thing about Tengrism is how spread out their holy sites are. They go from Bulgaria all the way to Mongolia. So if you want all of them, it's going to take you a long time to get them. I don't want to lean into holy sites too much. The reason why I haven't been going into any of the other ones is just based on that every single one of these is going to have different holy sites, and I just didn't want to have to make a video just going over all the holy sites. This one, to me at least, gets an A. It's a super solid choice. Ukonusko. Bad. Communal identity. Ancestor worship. Sanctity of nature. All three of these I've been saying are pretty bad the entire video. I would put this one in D, but in the doctrines, you can actually see that this one here is going to be righteous. Meaning that whenever you declare holy wars or conquer wars, you'll actually just take all their land instead of vassalizing hostile guys of different faiths. So just because of that, it gets into C. This one here is basically the exact same as Ukonusko, except in this one you get ritual celebrations instead of ancestor worship. I prefer ritual celebrations by quite a bit. It's fundamentalist, a lot better than pluralist if I do say so myself. Marriage type is monogamous. Great. I don't like it enough to put it above C. This faith here is a super confusing one. Communal identity, sanctity of nature, which is in like 50% of these for some reason. The tenet that I'm kind of stuck on is sacred childbirth. Mothers are less likely to die in childbirth. Children are less likely to be sickly or stillborn. Mothers and fathers gain piety when their child is born. Makes pregnant a virtue. It gives everybody who follows this faith plus 10% fertility. You might be thinking, well, if the faith is female dominated, this one would work pretty well. But it's male dominated, so it doesn't blend at all. This one is like middle D. Orisa. Esotericism, reincarnation, ancestor worship. If I had to say, none of these blend together. None of these tenets blend together at all. There's no synergy between any of these tenets at all. But just based on the fact that it doesn't have sanctity of nature or communal identity, it makes it into like high C, just based on that fact. This one is pretty good. Adorcism. This is the one that Bori had, the Seek the Aid of the Spirits one. I like this one quite a bit. Ancestor worship, ritual celebrations. 2 out of the 3 are pretty good. It is pluralist, but it's also monogamous. I think this one gets in low B. Vitalism. Ancestor worship. It has that same one that one Somalian faith has, with the whole mothers are less likely to die in childbirth. This one also is male dominated. I really think if there was one faith that was female dominated and it had this one, it would be pretty decent. And it has sanctity of nature. Luckily enough for Vitalism, I would say around 85% of all the provinces that it covers in 867 are actually either taiga or forest, meaning that you're going to actually see the benefits for this one. The doctrine is righteous. You do have concubines. I would say this one also goes in low B. Okay, Kushitism. In the tenets, ritual, I'm not sure if I could say that. I'm not sure if I could say that on YouTube, so I'm just not going to say that. But basically what it does is, in your old age, you can decide that it's time to stop existing in this this plane of existence and just end it all. You also get a short reign duration, minus 50%. Esotericism, ancestor worship. The doctrine is righteous. And in the sins, there's only 2 sins. Lazy and impatient. Both of the sins are bad traits that you wouldn't want to have anyways. I think that's pretty good. I would say this one barely sneaks into B. It gets the lowest spot in B. I'm going to speed up here. This one is pretty boring. Communal identity, reincarnation, ancestor worship. It's pluralist. It has concubines. It's pretty bad. This one is a low C. Turumism, ancestor worship, ritual celebrations, sanctity of nature. Sanctity of nature is good for this one. It's righteous also. This one here gets like mid-high C tier. It's so hard to say how good these ones are. They're all basically just the same. Taoism, ancestor worship, astrology, and a suspicious birthright. First, I'm going to go to astrology. Allows adherents to divine the stars and predict their future. Naval speed plus 25%. I remember the whole divine the stars thing being pretty bad. It gives you like +1, like stewardship, for example. This one, a suspicious birthright, though, is pretty good. Children can rarely be born with a wise man trait. Makes wise man a virtue. Tall Toa's opinion plus 50%. Piety plus 5 a month. And zealot vassal opinion plus 50. So if you have somebody in your realm who follows this faith and is a zealot, you'll get plus 100 opinion with those people, which is probably the most insane opinion bonus in the entire game. It's pluralist. It has concubines. I'm gonna go back to the astrology thing. So in the very beginning of the game, naval speed plus 25% will probably be pretty decent. But as soon as you migrate into Hungary, it's worthless. There's no point of having plus 25% naval speed when you're landlocked. Unless you're gonna help your allies, but really, in this game, who is helping their allies? I never help any of my allies. It's still pretty decent. I'd say low B. This is the one Pagan Basque faith. Communal identity, chthonic redoubts. Convert faith and county speed in mountainous terrain plus 50%. Promote culture in same faith mountainous terrain plus 50%. Hostile convert faith and county speed in mountainous terrain minus 25%. Makes giant a virtue. And it gives a ton of other mountain bonuses. I'm not going to go over them all. And Christian syncretism. Considers other Christian faiths to be hostile instead of evil. I think that does nothing for you. I'm pretty sure Christians can still do holy wars on you and do crusades. You can use Christian artifacts at full benefit. It's pluralist. It is monogamous though. I'd say it gets mid B. Volcanic veneration. It's the same one with the whole giant virtue thing. Sacrificial ceremonies. Executions earn piety instead of costing piety. In megalithic constructions. Enables the construction of megaliths in temple holdings and great megaliths in duchy capitals. I've never actually used or played with this faith. I should probably make a video on it. So I don't know what either of those bonuses are. They're probably decent enough. It also gives a few other hill bonuses. It's pluralist and polygamous. I'd say it probably gets mid-high B. Hellenism is a faith that if you don't start with a custom character, you're gonna have to put in a lot of work. So it better be worth it, right? In tenets, communal identity, esotericism, astrology, pluralist, and has concubines. So you'd be doing all that work for a faith that I'm gonna put in high C tier. At best, you know, nothing is great about it. Next up is Zunism. Unrelenting faith. Members of the clergy can serve as commanders or knights. All Zunis gain +4 extra prowess and +2 faith hostility advantage. A pretty good one. Sun worship. Hosting feasts in the summer months earn piety. Imprisoned criminals can be sentenced to a sun trial. The sun trial itself, two things happen. Either A, the guy dies from exposure, or B, he lives and you have to let him free. So if he's your rival or something and he lives, that could be bad. He could come back and murder you. Attrition taken in desert minus 25%. Attrition taken in desert mountains minus 25%. Eastern syncretism. I kind of don't like this one in the situation. All it really does is block off your east, but every single other direction is going to have guys wanting to kill you. It's pluralist, concubines, another high C. And here we are with the final one. The original. Paganism. Ancestor worship. Astrology. Sanctity of nature. It's pluralist and has concubines. This one is impossible to read. The holy sites for this one stretch from Germany to India. So it could really be anywhere in the entire map. You know? So sanctity of nature could vary. Astrology could vary. Just based on the variance. It gets a high D. It gets a high D. So there we are. There's our list. If I put more time into this, I'd probably shuffle around some of the spots on the list. I just did it as kind of a rough thing. They're not all in the perfect spot where I want them to be. But yeah, if you guys have any other ideas for videos, just let me know. And thank you for watching.